Hello, this is Luke Turner, and back with another episode of building an exercise tracking web app from scratch. So let's get started here. As we do, run the database, run the client-side code bundler, and run the server. And then we can think about what we're going to be doing today. Let's look at the notes. Okay. So if I recall, we spent most of the time last time on this durations other than minutes problem. And that's in a pretty good spot. Not perfect, but all right. Let's open the app here. Sign in. Okay. So like, for example, for the interval sprints, there's this minutes and seconds kind of selector thing here. It's not really perfect, as you can obviously tell, but it works all right. You know, if I recall, I think we got this to the point of fully working. So if I do this, like, you know, even if I do like 71 seconds, if I refresh, it's kind of got a normalized form here, which is good. If I go to that exercise history, it has the, let's see, today's this one. Yeah. It's got the right form there. Yeah. Looks good. Okie doke. So I think what I want to do today is, we also kind of did this privacy policy thing. I'm just going to check that off because why not? Unfurl metadata. So unfurling is like, if somebody posts a link to this page, you know, or like set.luketurner.org, like if I share this, you know, on X or whatever, not that I'm actually on X, or somebody else posts it on LinkedIn or something, unfurling is when it kind of expands like a little quote with the title and like a description and image and stuff from the page actually in the actual like Twitter or X or whatever UI, or Facebook or LinkedIn. So that might be kind of a nice thing to have. It just makes the app stand out a little bit more if it's actually shared. Probably I'll be the only one sharing it, but anyway, but the thing about that is that's a pretty easy thing to do. So I'll probably save that for stuffing into the end of a stream somewhere. Today, maybe I'll do this new page. This is probably the last major page that I'll be doing for this app. Most of the functionality, you know, that we need is already there. It's kind of fun to look at all these checkboxes too. So let's talk about this page then. What is it that we want? So if we go to the today page here, you know, we can see our exercises for today. We can go back and forward through time with these buttons. It's kind of slow. Not sure why that's so slow. Oh well, not going to worry about that for the moment. But anyway, if I actually were to click on this, this is like a date picker, right? So I can type something in here. Like I can go to 5 or, you know, 4, 14, 2025. Or I can click on this thing and pop up like a selector. Pretty neat, you know, convenient if you want to go to a specific day in the past. But a lot of times, at least for me, it's like, I don't know specifically what day I want to go to. I want to see like a list of the past recorded sessions or, you know, sets of sets or whatever you want to call it, and open those up, you know. So that's kind of what I want to do here. And basically what I'm imagining is like replacing this date picker with the link to a new page. But first let's try and implement that page. So we're going to start with a new controller. This will be under sets. It's a set related controller. So we've got like the today page where it looks up a particular date. We're going to do another one here. Sets router.get, and we'll call this not sure what to call this. Maybe we could pattern it kind of similar to what we did for exercises. So for exercises, we have slash historical. Yeah, slash historical. So I could do the same thing for sets. I could do just slash historical like that. And this is going to be a page that, let's just copy this, put it in there, and get rid of all this stuff that we don't need probably. And this will render historical sets, because I believe we already have a view called historical for exercises. So this has to be differentiated in the name. Let's save this to get that formatted. Okay. And here the title is just going to be historical. Sure, for now. Okay. So we're not, well, we'll need some of this stuff. So what parameters do we need for this page? At the moment, I don't think we need any. So let's actually get rid of that. And then what is this going to show? It's going to show recent exercises in a scrollable list. Recent sets, pardon me. So we'll start simple and implement it without pagination and just showing all historical sets. And then maybe we'll add some restriction there so people don't explode their UI if they have a million sets. So this is going to need to return sets. I don't remember exactly how that's done. So let's look at the sets model here. And there should be a function to like get all sets for, so there's get sets for exercise, get latest day sets for exercise, get sets for user export. We kind of want something similar to this get sets for user export thing. And in fact, it's almost going to be exactly the same, but I'm going to make it a different function. And we'll call it get sets, get historical sets. Sure. User ID string. So this is going to return just all of the sets for the user, and then we'll kind of refine this later. Where user ID, order by, date, order, ascending. Is that what we want here? I feel like date should probably be descending. We want this in kind of reverse chronological order. And then order can be ascending. Order doesn't really matter all that much, whether it's ascending or not. Okay, so we can use that get historical sets function here then. Get historical sets. User.id. Okay. So now we've got our data. Now we need to actually interpret it into a form that we can use in the view. And, you know, like I said, we're going to want this page to have like a list of the days that we actually have exercises recorded, that there's sets for that date. So we need to partition our sets by date. Oh, one sec. I don't know if you heard that. That was a Amber Alert that just went off on my phone. Fun. Well, not for the people involved, of course. Hope the problem gets resolved. But anyway, what was I thinking about? Right. Okay. So we need to partition the sets by date. So let's say dates which is a string and then an array of sets. And the type of set is not really given. It's that, I think. Okay. And then we're going to want to probably run this through a reduce is going to be the way I would do it. I mean, we could just do a for each loop, I guess. So let's do for const set of sets if, or I guess we don't need an if because there's always going to be a set.date. So we could do like dates set.date equals, or yeah, equals dot dates set.date and set, right? What are we complaining about here? Type, blah, blah, blah is not assignable to type. Blah, blah, blah. Is missing the following properties. User created at, updated at, exercise. Oh, okay. So this actually, this select here, we pulled this from get sets for user export, but the select is not actually selecting everything. If we look at one of these other ones, it's just selecting all the stuff, which is what we're going to want to do here as well. So let's just do a select. And now that should be fine. Yeah. So what we're doing here is we're going through each of these sets and we're adding it to the array at set or in this like date property key thing. And we're using the splat syntax to, take the array and then add the set value to it without needing to have like a conditional case where if the array doesn't exist, then do this or whatever. And I think that should work all right. So here we're going to have our sets partitioned by date. Now we kind of want those dates to also be sorted. And because that's an object, they're not. So we could do something like object dot entries dates dot to sorted. And it would be like A, B, new date A minus new date B. Right, and then this would need like a to or get time. Or is there like a subtract function? I don't remember. No, I mean, I could use Luxon, but I feel like it should be okay to just do get time. Yeah, milliseconds. Yep, do date B dot get time. Okay, something like that. And what are we complaining about here? Oh, this has to be A dot date and B dot date. Or no. A1.date. Or no. The date is the key. So this would be A0, right? And B0, basically. Yeah. I think that should work. So then we should have our array of sorted dates. And we could put that in here. Okay, so now let's build this view here, this historical sets view. So let's copy something. Doesn't really matter what. Copy one of these. Make a new view page. Call it historical sets. .pug. And paste this in there. And we can get rid of all of the stuff. And this is just, not going to need that either probably for now. And this would be passed or let's just call it history. Whoops. Okay. So let's try that. Let's see what we've got going on here. So, you know, if I open that historical, we get an error. What's complaining? Spread syntax requires iterald will not be null or undefined. Oh, I thought that could work if it was null or undefined. Maybe that's just in an object. Let me see here. Time to open the REPL. So if I do ... null, that doesn't work. If I do ... null, that does work. Okay, so it just doesn't work with arrays. Well, that's a little bit annoying, but you could just do that, right? Like if I do this, that works, yeah. Okie doke. Cool. So now we've got our history page here, and we could just do a simple confirmation of what data we actually have. Like we could do, and here's a case where it's like, one of the lessons I've learned so far in this app is in places where we're iterating over arrays of things, like the exercises page is a good example here. We're iterating over this array of exercises. And originally I had this done in Pug. Like in Pug, you have like a each X in Y thing. But the problem with that is obviously the iteration happens just once server side. And if you ever like add a new element or you want to rearrange them, then you can't, you know, or you need to kind of do some fanciness. So I'll probably just start with the iteration on the client side to begin with using this X4 type thing in this historical sets page and see how that feels. So if I do, you know, basically for date, you know, it would be like, I wonder if this works. Date, sets of sorted dates. And then we also need to assign the sorted dates, of course, so that would be like X data sorted dates. And actually here we could just do like X data is JSON.stringify sorted dates. Okay. And then so for each of these dates, we're going to want to do a thing. For starters, let's just do div X text date. Yeah, fine. Okay, so we've got our dates. They're being sorted kind of in the opposite order from what I would want. I sort of want it in reverse, chronological. So these, well, yeah, whatever. I was thinking, it would be kind of nice if we didn't have to do this extra sort because it's already sorted when we return it from the database, because we have like the ascending sort order on our query. But as soon as we start partitioning it into this object, it's like maybe you could assume something about how the keys in the object will be sorted in the order that they were created or something, but there's no guarantee about that in JavaScript, right? So we kind of need to sort it again after it's partitioned, basically, is where I'm going with that. Or we could rework the algorithm if it was important. If you can assume that the array is pre-sorted, it's like partitioning can become a lot simpler based on that assumption as well. But I'm not going to worry about that anyway. A lot of times having too much assumptions about the data, it's like it makes things less functional to begin with. Like I tend to be in favor of maybe not assuming the data is always going to be sorted and just resorting it to be on the safe side instead of like having that assumption that's not encoded in your type system or anything that this data is sorted in a certain way that your callers have to be aware of. Anyway, okay. So now we've got our reverse chronological order sorting of the dates here. Cool. Then for each date, we're going to need to kind of summarize the sets within it. I don't want to do a full list out of like, here's all the sets with all the parameters, just like a little bit of a summary to remind the person like, what did I do on that day? And then they can click on it and see the full details, right? So basically what I'm thinking is now we want to aggregate the sets within each date based on their exercise and sort of sum them based on the exercise, if that makes sense. And again, it's like in theory, you could do this in the SQL query if you wanted to be, I don't know, fancy about it or something. But I'm not going to do that. Okay. So we've got our sorted dates. And again, I don't know. Yeah. Let's just do it this way. So if we do for const date sets of sorted dates, we're going to say well, whatever. I'm just going to do it in the way that makes the most sense and maybe refine it a bit later. Okay, so we're going to be building a new thing now. This is going to be, I don't know, aggregated dates. Doesn't really make sense, but that's what we're going to call it. And this one is going to have a record of exercise ID, which I don't know if I have a type for that, but I think that's just a number, to an array of exercise sets. And I'm going to keep the array of exercise sets just in case we want some other metadata out of them, but probably we'll just be counting those. And so basically here, trying to decide if I should just install Lodash for this or not. I'm always kind of torn about that. But no, let's not. So here we're going to say like for, and this actually should be more of a tuple situation. sorted dates, or no, just that. So this would be like aggregated dates dot push date aggregated sets. And so aggregated sets, we're going to construct from aggregating the sets based on the exercise ID. So again, I'm just going to do kind of the same thing I did here. Const, what do we call it? Aggregated sets. Yeah. It's that. And again, could use a reduce, but I'm not going to because, I don't know, I feel like it actually makes the code less readable a lot of the times to make it super functional in JavaScript. Anyway, so here we're doing for const set of date sets. Let's call it date sets. And we're going to do aggregated sets. Or no, yeah, aggregated sets set.exercise equals this thing again. And what are we complaining about here? Oh, okay. We got to give the type of aggregated sets, I guess, which would be this. Okay. Now, what are you complaining about? Record is not assignable to Oh, no, this should be, no, that's, yeah. Oh, this needs to be an array of those things. Yes. Okay. Cool. So with that, now we should have some aggregated set information if we go to our historical sets page here. So now for each date, we could also do a for. And this would be for exercise ID sets. And we'll call this like aggregated set data or sets. Sure. And then here we would have like div, just for demo purposes again, div x text exercise ID plus, or let's just do another div. And then this would be sets.length. Let's see what that has to say for itself. Did it not? Looks like it's not doing anything, which kind of tells me that these aggregated sets might not be. Oh, right. I have to actually do this. Aggregated dates. Yes, like that. Okay. Right. And okay, let's see what we have here. Oh, this is weird, actually. Why does it say sign in with GitHub there? Something's not working. Aggregated sets is not defined. I mean, I could do like that, right? Does that work? Kind of. The other thing is, I guess this would have to be like object.enters. It occurs to me. right? Maybe that'll fix it. Nope. Let's add our question marks. Just kind of want to see. Okay, so it's still not working. It's straight up not defined. And okay, let's see. I mean, look at that. How am I supposed to read that? Let's just console.log it here. Console.log aggregated dates. And I'm actually going to put that up here. Okay. So these are looking fine, right? It doesn't look structurally wrong. We've got our array, which is a tuple. The first element is the date. The second is another array of objects. And so what if I do this? Oh, one thing probably needs that, actually. I wonder if that matters. Huh. Now it's not even, I'm not getting an error or anything. I mean, it is. It's just not, something's not quite right here. What's going on? What is going on? It's not because of that, is it? No. It's not because of this, is it? Do I have to sign in? No, because it says I'm signed out again. So that's obviously not working. Why? Okay, then it's rendering the thing. I guess this would be history, by the by. So, I mean, that seems fine. Then here, that's fine. Here, that's fine. You know, I wonder, actually. I wonder if So, I wonder if I can't nest multiple things underneath a template like this. I don't really know how templates work, I guess. If I do like just div and then this, that works. Okay, so I guess that might have been the problem the whole time. So if I do it like this, then we see the thing, and it's got the exercise ID and the sets.length, and they're combined together. So that's probably like actually a 3 and then a 6, if I were to guess. Let's see here. Oh no, that is 36. Oh, this is the same thing again. I need another div, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So now we can kind of see the format that our data is going to be in. Now we need to actually make it look like something on the page, right? We also need our exercises. So I don't think we load those in here automatically. No, but we do have them in the view, so we can add them in here, exercises. So now, like for here, for instance, we could say like X data exercise null, sure. And we would also have X effect exercise equals exercises dot find e dot id equals exercise id. Okay. And so then this could be, say, like exercise dot name. Didn't like that. Exercises is not defined. Oops, let's fix that. What's not defined about it? Oh my God, look at that. I think, well, let's confirm that this is even a thing. So let's look at our router. Okay, it's not. So we need to actually pass the exercises in. That's not something that we were automatically doing before. Let's fix that. So in this historical page here, get rid of our console log. We can add just a const exercises equals get exercises for user.id. And, we're just kind of going to need those in here as a point of correlation. Again, you could implement that in a SQL side with like a join if you wanted, but I'm just going to use a reusable functional approach instead of trying to build SQL queries. Okay, what are we complaining about now? Exercises.find is not a function. Oh, I need to await that. Now, exercise ID is not defined. Okay, so that's kind of a timing issue type of thing, probably. Oh, no, it's a typo. Okay, let's fix that. Yeah, so here, cannot read. So if I do this, that works, but is that going to... What if I just do exercise out of curiosity here? What if I do that? Exercise is null. So that's false. False, huh? What is it then? Undefined. Okay. So it can't find the exercise. Why is that? Let's see. So for each exercise, it's got an ID, which is a number. Seems like that should be all right. Maybe, what if I do that? Maybe it's like a string comparison thing. Okay, and then exercise.name. Yeah, that fixed it. Okay, so kind of the problem there being that exercise ID was probably a string for some reason. And so a triple equals strict comparison was not matching it, but a double equals comparison does match it. Normally, I don't like to use double equals comparisons on the back end, but if they make front end view logic simpler, I do use them there. Although at work, I actually avoid double equals altogether. I find it just confuses things later. But for personal projects, you know, if it saves code to use a double equals, I'll definitely do it. Okay, so then this, you know, we would kind of have something where it's like, at least what I'm picturing is, let's see, span. Well, let's just reuse these, I guess. We could do, this is a span, this is a span, and it would be like this, X, that, right? Yeah. So kind of telling you how many of the different things you have in each day. And then this div should probably be a kind of a grid situation, maybe. Let's open up Bulma here. Think a little bit about how we want this to look. Okay. So visually speaking, I'm kind of picturing there being like the date and then below the date, a little summary, and having all of that be in like one sort of clickable card. And, you know, I kind of want it to be something that works on mobile, of course, as well. So we need to keep that in mind when we're doing it. You know, we don't want to make it too compact. The panel is maybe an option, this kind of thing, but I don't know if we want to do that. Card, usually for these, I would probably just pick up a card. The problem with cards is they don't necessarily look super good when they're stacked on top of each other. Also, why is this sign in, sign out stuff still not? So like if I go to the manual, I'm signed in. But if I go back to this page, I'm signed out. Let's actually fix this first, because that's going to bug me otherwise. Extends layout, that's fine. Block content, that's fine. I'm going to get rid of this console log. I'm actually going to get rid of this history too, maybe. So why would that be a problem? So, the layout decides what to render here based on whether user is true. And user should be true because we're passing in the request.viewBag thing here. Maybe not though. Maybe we have to pass in user like this. Yeah, okay. Not a huge fan of that. Probably should be more automatic. Like user rec.user null. So then if I do that, I don't need this here at all, right? No, I still do. I guess because this is running first. Probably should run this middleware. In theory, it would basically have to run after get session middleware, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, so now we have that here, and we don't need to pass in the user manually for each different controller method, which is good. I'm actually going to do that as its own commit. So yes, that's this. And then, sure, I think just that actually. So I would call this allow or automatically or add user to viewBag. Sure. Sounds good to me. Okay. Onward with our new page here. So let's start with just making these kind of approximately fit what I'm picturing. And we'll start with using cards, probably. I mean, do you really want to use cards? I don't know if I really even want to do that. So let's actually not. Let's just start with this. So we've got this is the kind of the main div for the whole thing here. And this is going to be fine as it is, actually. Probably. Maybe one thing I would do here is like class, I guess I could do like dot M3 or M4, M3. Yeah, so now that should have a little spacing between each of these. Good. Then we're also going to make this whole thing clickable. And I'm actually probably going to make this an A. And I might actually make, let's see if we can do like padding to margin to, what does that feel like? So now, let's see here. We've got our A. Seems like the padding is not really actually padding, which is interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. The padding's not doing anything. I wish I understood more about like how that worked. The margin's also not doing anything. Is it because of the parent class here, this container? Display block? No, it's just a normal thing. These are interesting. I just noticed this actually too, this template document fragment stuff. But okay, so we've got that. I wonder, because it's an A, it's probably not actually display block. I don't know if Bulma has a helper for that or not. So I'm actually going to do a class. We'll call it date card. And I will add some of my own styles. Wherever I do that, I think it's here. Date card, display, block. Okay, so with that, now we should have our proper padding and stuff. Yeah. And kind of the idea behind the padding is padding for a link is actually clickable, whereas margin is not. So like for this A here, if I look at this, like that, those boxes that come up, like the blue box is the content of the element, right? So that part is clickable because it's a link. The green part around that is the padding, and that part is also clickable, but content isn't going to be put in there. So the advantage of that is if I'm on my mobile phone or something and I'm like trying to click a link, even if the text for the link, I might like miss it a little bit and hit it a little on the side or whatever, I can still be clicking the padding. The margin is that orange box, and that is not clickable. And so with that, you can, put a little spacing between the things without having them be clickable right next to each other. You know what I mean? So usually, like if you have a little bit of margin and a little bit of padding, it's kind of going to help people click your links better, I guess is where I'm going with that. Okay. And so that's fine. Now we also are going to have, we could have like date card, dot exercises. Sure. And this one is going to have display flex, flex flow, row wrap. Sure, fine for now. So then that would be for exercises. That's this. No, that's this. No, there is no thing for it. It would be like here, right? Exercises. Yeah, and now we've got kind of that like that. And then each exercise in there is going to be I could put it in here. Like this could be like dot mx2. Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of what I'm picturing here. I might do like another like dot mt2 as well, kind of give it some space that way. But then maybe I'll make those ones. No, I want this one to be 2 and that one to be 1. Yeah. And then I want this one to be 3. Or no, let's do M2, MX2, MY4. Let's see what that looks like. Not bad. Okay. So we're just kind of trying to get the layout here. If we look at it in mobile view, it seems fine. And you can see how these, the barbell press one kind of wraps there, which is what we want to see. So This I can also just do like text or color inherit probably should be fine to avoid having it be colored like a link. Yep. And then um, hmm, let's just see what this looks like. Obviously, it's not going to be good, but I kind of want to see the shape of these things. Actually, that red is really annoying. Let's do dark gray. I can't see the text, but that's okay. Yeah, so I kind of want maybe less margin actually and more padding. Yeah, more like that. And then I want these to seem interactive. So, like if I hover my cursor over here, it's like, oh, it's clickable because my cursor changes to a pointer, right? But that's not necessarily obvious. Whereas in contrast, something like this, it's like just by hovering over it, it's getting this gray background thing. I kind of want that here. So how do I do that? It's possible that I can actually add a button class to this whole thing like this. Let's try it. Like this whole card could also be a button. Okay, that looks really weird. Unsurprisingly, maybe. It's actually not bad though. But it's a little bit not right either. So, and if I go in mobile view, it's like that. So why is it rendering the way it is? Each of these A's is now rendering as a, okay, it's block. And then down here, why is it centered? That's what I kind of want to know. Why did this become centered? If I do like text align left, that does it. So something's setting that text align center. Where do you come from? Dot button. Okay. I mean, so kind of have two options here, right? We want to use some of the stuff from Bulma here, in particular the colors of the, hovering and clicking and stuff like that. Like this is a background color. If I hover over it, I get another color. If I click it, I get another color. The border is another color. If I switch to light mode, it's a whole different set of 3 different colors. So there's like a lot of stuff you kind of have to coordinate there if you wanted to implement this component yourself. Whereas by reusing the button component, we can not have to re-implement all that ourselves. But what we do have is we're kind of shoehorning a somewhat complicated UI into a button, which it's not really meant for, it seems. So we would have to adjust that. Or if we did go with card, is there an interactive card? No, not really. Hmm. Yeah, I probably will just try and stick with actually using the button here, even though it's kind of weird. And we will stick with the primary style. I think seemed fine. Probably go with is. This is weird. It's funny how there's like default and normal, and then medium, which is apparently bigger than normal. What? I don't know. But I actually like the medium size here. If I did that, so now kind of we can see that, and that is good for that, the date, but it's not really good for the lists of aggregate exercises. If I do this, that might be better for the list of aggregate exercises, although it does feel a bit small. So probably actually just sticking with the default, and then under date card here, this is just going to be text align left. Sure. And, you know, might have to move that class after the other class. Okay. And then, then the exercises one. This one, I'm actually going to do like font weight normal, because that looks bolded to me. We don't really need that. Yeah, okay. And date, which we don't really have a selector for. This I would call like dot date. Let's do that. Sure. Date card dot date. Here I might actually have the font size increase a little bit. So if I did do is medium, and inspect this, what is the font size here? Bulma size medium. Okay, so then over here I could do like font size var Bulma size medium. I think that should work. And then if I go over here, I can get rid of that. Yeah, okay. This is kind of what I'm picturing. We've got our simple list of historical dates. And then, you know, the idea is like I can click on one of these, boop, and it would take me to that date. So let's actually implement that now. So this whole button here, this whole A, is going to need a href. And this is just going to take us to /exercises, or no, /date. and I guess I'm going to need to bind this because we're iterating on the client side. So I would need to do x bind ref equals slash, well, let's do it this way, slash date. So now click it. It should take me to that date. And then I can go back and get back to here. Okay. So now I want to make it so this date chooser is going to take me to that historical sets page as well. So if I go to today here, you know, maybe, so let's see. So this would be read only true. See what that does. Okay, so now it's there, it's not editable, and it looks weird because you got rid of the thing that you're supposed to click on. What? Wait, okay. Let me look at this. Yeah, okay, so I mean, that's, so if I get rid of this, is that little thing just going to come back? Yeah, that's kind of weird. I wonder if that's a sizing thing, though. That might be a sizing thing. Okay, so if we just do this and then add a click handler on it, I wonder if that's going to work here. A little bit odd, but fine. X on click. I mean, I would like it to be a link, actually. I should probably just not, it doesn't need to be an input. I do like the sizing style on that though. What if I just do like test? As expected, it looks kind of weird, but it could look okay, actually. What if yeah, okay. A dot button test. Okay, still not quite right. A dot button dot is large. Okay, that could work. And then here we would have the date. Date. Problem with that is if I go to today, it's going to say today in there. Oh no, okay, it has that date. Okay, I actually like that a lot. So now that just needs to go someplace. So if I click on it, it's going to take me to /history. And I'm going to call this history instead of historical, this other page. It just feels better somehow. Call it, yeah, history, and history up here. Yes, okay. Okay, so now like if I click on this, boop, I go here. And I might do something a little fancy here too. We might say, let's go to the today page. So we can click on the history page and we can actually add a from equals date. So now if I go to the today page, if I click on this, it's going to include that from in the query parameters there. And I can do, actually, let's also do a back function here. So kind of similar to the settings page. Let's sort of copy this here. In history page, we will do back and fine. And ref equals back. So if we look at the settings controller here, okay, so it's a property in the query string called back. Okay, so that actually should be a little different for this page because it's going to be based on the same thing as this from business. So this would be like ref slash plus from. Sure. And here we will do from, or yeah, let's just do from like this. And this is going to come from the query string. So we got to add our parsing function here. And we are going to be parsing from as a string, a date type string, which I guess we might as well reuse this exact same query parameter here, or, little schema thingy, except it's not going to be today. It's just that. And then this, we would have like from. Okay. So now the history page can accept this from parameter. If we refresh, we get an error. Oh, it says it's required. It shouldn't be required. We can actually add a default /today, which is what I meant to do. And then it's not happy with that because it doesn't match the regex. Okay, fine. Let's do today or whatever. Yeah. And the default, I guess, is just today without the slash. Yeah. Okay. So now if I click back, it's going to take me back to that date, right? 0614, yeah. And if I go 0613, click on it and click back, it didn't take me back to the right date. Oh, okay. So this actually should be query, not grams, first of all. That's a big problem. Now, if I click this and then back, I get back to the 13th. Awesome. Okay. But the other thing I wanted to do is kind of select that date if it has data, which like the 13th here, if we go here, there is no 13th on this page at all because there's no sets recorded. Whereas if I, add a set here, then click on it, then it shows up, right? Yeah, so I kind of want to, if it is here though, I want it to be highlighted. So if I'm on the 13th and I click this, I want this 13th here to be kind of highlighted to be like, hey, this is the one you just came from, to visually anchor the person a little bit. So with that, with Bulma, you would probably do like a variant of the object here, the button. And, like if I did like dot, like is info, for example, let's try it. So here we would also have xbind class um, date equals from is primary null, and this should be in a quote. Okay. But from, that also needs to be bound here. Might as well do it like that. Okay. Okay, so now we see that's highlighted. That's great. But it's a little bit annoying. If I did is light 2, that's still a little bit weird. Dinky. And I mean, the problem with doing the is light, of course, if I switch to dark mode, it really stands out, which is why we have these other checks like on this button here. What if we just leave it as is primary? And then, you know, yeah, it's going to stand out. But then we can have that go away. I don't know if, by which I mean, so I don't know if you ever used an app where it's like you open a page and it's like shows something and then it like disappears. Like in this case, it's like this flashes green when you first load the page and then the green just like fades away. It's like notifying the user, but then the notification sort of goes away. Another example being like with Jira comments or something, it's like if you open the comment specifically, it'll be like kind of highlighted on the page, but then it's like it'll just be for like a second. Anyway, that's kind of what I'm picturing here. I don't know if that made sense at all, but I believe we can handle that with like a little bit of interactivity in a CSS transition. But I'm not sure how Alpine will be able to help us with that. Let's see what we've got going on here. Like there is this transition thing. And I don't know if this is going to work. Kind of curious though. So if I added just a simple X transition onto here, what does that do? It just breaks everything, that's all. No big deal. Yep, just totally breaks it. Also, just to make sure, if I get rid of that from, I can still click back and it takes me back to the today page. Yeah, okay. So what was the problem here? So can it only be applied on something with X show on it? If so, I feel like that's probably not really what I want to do. Okay, let's not worry about that for now. Could make it fancier, but I'm not going to. What I will do is just make it like a little bit less jarring here in the list. Although actually maybe this is totally fine. The more I look at it, I'm like, it's kind of all right. Maybe, what if we put something here where it was like, span x text, if date is from, then today, or I don't know. Let's actually just leave it as it is. Okay, so simple page here. One of the problems with this page though is like as somebody keeps adding more and more exercises, it's going to just be loading more and more data and going back further and further in time. So in order to resolve that, we might actually copy our lookup window logic from the historical page. So let's do that. If we open historical page, and I could, maybe I should try to make this a mixin. So if I copy all of this, and then I make a new mixin here, I could call this mixin look back picker. And it's kind of all right, but we're going to have a bit of a problem with this, which I'll get to in a moment, probably. But mostly the kind of nice thing about this is because it's using this, like the data that it needs to be bound is being defined within the component itself. It doesn't have any external data dependencies. Relatively simple to add to a new page, hopefully. So I could kind of just add, and if I look at the historical page here, it's right below the back button. I'll put it in the same spot here. Just dunk plus dunk like that. Yep. And then the same thing can go over here. Like that. Okay. That should be cool. There's a bit of a problem there though. Wait. Yeah. Let's undo this one here. Okay, so that was right. It's more like, for some reason, this one, oh, because there's no title. Let's look, for example, at one of these history pages as a point of comparison. Here, the back button's up there, the history is here, and if we kind of move the mouse straight to the right, the look back thing is aligned with the history. Why is that? Oh, because it's got float right. In theory, if I were to just put it above that other button, that should kind of fix it. But I want it to be like in the same vertical row as the other button. let's look at what's going on here. No, let's look up here. Yeah, okay. So here we've got field float right. See, I don't really know how this works, I guess, with these floats. I'm like kind of confused. Because I'm like, well, this one, like this is up there. This div below it is still taking up that vertical space though, right? Like, why isn't this one just like, I don't get it. If I uncheck float right, then it's like this. But if I check it off, then this element is now like that. Probably, does this have the clear fix or something on it? I don't see it. Okay. Well, what we can do is just make that be inside another div type of situation. Like this could be div. Let's just mess with it with raw styles for a minute. This would be display flex, flex, blow, row, no wrap. So now what does it look like? Same thing. If I get rid of that, now what do we got going on here? So we've got these two things. They should be inside. They're not inside the other div. And this should be the other way around. Okay. And then it would be like a lot, or justify items space between, right? No. No, apparently not. Is it align items? Align items space, no. How, what is the justify items? If I do stretch here, what does that do? Just out of curiosity. Justify items, stretch. I always get the justify and align stuff mixed up with flex, because it's like one of them is like the flex axis and one of them is like the perpendicular to the flex axis. I don't know. But I think there's a way to be like, let me look it up in MDN. Justify items. Defines the default justify self for all items of the box. Along the appropriate axis. But which axis? In Flexbox layouts, this property is ignored. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Justify content, maybe is what I want. Content, space between. Yes, okay, so now that's nice, I like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other page. And first I'm gonna actually give this a style, or a class. So this will be div dot back button row. Back button row. Get rid of the quotes. Yep. And I mean, I could, well, whatever. Yeah. I could try to come up with a more atomic styles type of name for that class, but I'm not going to. So we've got our div back button row. Going to do the same thing for the historical page here. Div back button row, and then this. And so now if I look at that here, it should be fine. Still have to actually implement the look back. Can't forget about that. If I go to, oh, I already have one open over here. Also is fine. The look back is now aligned with the back. Okay, cool. So, and if I change this to like 1 year, that updates that. That's great. Now over here, if I change this, so a couple things to note when I'm about to do this here. Let's pay attention to the query string. Right now there's this from blah, blah, blah in there. If I change this to 7 days, the query string has been updated. Great. But we lost the other query parameter. So that's a bug we need to work out. And the other thing is we need to actually respect the look back when we're looking up these sets. So what all is involved there? So first of all, this get sets for exercises thing, this is where we use that starting date stuff as well. And we'll do the same thing down here. Starting date string. And we're going to need to, might as well just use this exact same thing here. So it would be like, and that. Yeah, okay. So then we're going to need to make sure to pass the value in there. So if we look at the sets controller, let's actually look at the exercises controller here, the historical one. And we can see this is how we're parsing the look back. And then that is going to, it's going through some of this stuff. Let's actually just sort of copy this piecemeal. So here we've got our look back. And then we're going to do this look back. So let's put this in here. And then there's going to be this. So this look back thing here needs to be put in. And that gets put into here. Right, that's the starting date. Okay, so, and here, you know, this would just be, we could just do query like that. And then for the from, query dot from. Okay. And this, well, it's fine. We'll just, yeah, keep the same logic. Okay, so with that, we should have the lookback actually implemented. Let's test that out, and then we can fix the query string issue. So here, one of the things you'll notice already, like the lookback automatically defaults to 1 year. So we lost some of those things. Or no, this is actually defaulting to 7 because of what I had in the query. So if I do this, we've got our stuff. You know, if I switch this to 30 days, it should filter out none of them because these are all within the last 30 days. Okay, fine. If I do 7 days, it filters those out. If I do all time, that also works. If I pick a certain number of days, that works too. Although it looked kind of weird there. 12 days. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now we've got, you know, our little historical page here. Let's construct a commit. Yep, the usual. Usual here as well. Fine. Fine. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to fix that bug I had been talking about. Can't forget that. Yes, so the problem here is in this mixin. We're assigning this window.location.search, which overwrites whatever was in there before. The actual logic we want here is we want to take window.location.search, replace the lookback query parameter with the new value if it was present, otherwise add it, and leave all the other query parameters the same. So we need to handle that mutation here. And it needs to be on the client side. So probably the best way to do this is going to be with a new helper function so that we don't have to write it all in our view. Let's do export function set query parameter. Let's call it set query parameter. And there will be like a key, string, value, string, fine. So here we're going to say, oh, and this isn't TypeScript, of course, can't do that. So we're going to say, first let's parse out the current value. So like const params equals window dot location dot oh, one sec, I gotta sneeze. Whew, okay. Okay, window.location.search, I believe, is kind of the main thing, but that's just a string. And so we would do like URL, what is it? Like new URL search params from does this work? Probably. Okay. And then we would do params dot set key value, return params. Right? Because I think set is going to mutate it. Right? Let's double check that. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's pretty simple. So then we can just, use that. And then, so this is going to return params. I'm actually just going to assign this here. Equals params.toString. So that way this function is like as easy to use as possible for the particular context that we need it in. Okay, and then in our mixin, we can use that here to say, like for lookback 7, it would be underscore set dot set query param lookback 7. Right? That is what I called it, right? Set query param. Let's see. Seven. Yeah. Okay. So now if I go today and then I click on this, I get back the from thing up here. And then I switch my look back to 7 days. Now we get both, you see. So that's kind of what we wanted to have. And so we kind of just need to update all of these now as well. So this one is 30 days and then 365 days. And then all. And then down here, it's going to be the same, but it's going to be this. Okay, like that. I like that. So now, this is working. And if I click back, it's actually going to take me back to the right day. Like if I go to the 13th, for example, switch to look back. Cool. Click back. And we're back. Cool. Okay. So we will call this add history page for navigating through past days data. Days data. Okay. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What next? So that actually, that page, I mean, far from perfect, but in a pretty good spot. One thing I'm not sure how I feel about, so like now we have this look back up here and these back, and you can see they're not quite aligned here because of the padding that we put on these. So let's actually look on this in mobile view as well. Seems fine, but you see it doesn't need that additional padding on the sides. Let's actually take care of that. So this just needs to be like MY2. Yeah, and so now it's all like aligned with those other things and looking nice. I think that seems pretty good. If I switch out of mobile view, yep, still looks fine, of course. Okay, let's put that in the commit. Okie dokie. Check that off. Create page. Cool. What else do we want to do here? why not add this unfurl metadata, I guess. That's something that we should be able to do. And, there was this post that I read. It was called something like, all you wanted to know about unfurling, but were too afraid to ask. Yeah, this one. This page talks about it, and this has a good illustration of sort of what the unfurling thing is as well that we want to support. So it's like a link, and then you can see some like stuff about the link underneath the link. So I've done this in the past for my blog, and basically, one option is you can use like these O-embed thing, but that's actually pretty heavyweight because you need a separate JSON serving web server, which isn't fun. What we want is something we can just embed tags in our HTML. And for that, there's basically some default meta tags. There's Facebook Open Graph, which is something that Open Graph is like something that Facebook kind of invented, it seems. But it's not necessarily like Facebook specific. It's kind of an open standard that anybody can use for unfurling. Anyway, and then there's also like Twitter ones. If you have like more fancy stuff, there's like a bunch of extra stuff for Twitter style meta tags. So, exactly how this works depends on the app too. So a lot of this is specific to Slack, of course, but we can at least put some stuff in ours. One thing I want to do, I want to figure out if there's a way to like test this. Unfurl tester. What about this? I mean, that could be a thing, but I don't want to have to log in. I don't have like a Facebook developer app, nor do I ever want to. So let's not do that. There must be like unfurl tester. I mean, this seems like a random company that social share preview tool. I kind of want to see what this has to say. Okay, so if I do my own homepage, it's just like the usual stuff. If I do, let's actually click on this and open up my blog and open up a post and do a post. Oops. Okay, so that is cool. You can see kind of what it'll look like. This is actually quite neat. I like how it has multiple different examples here. So maybe we can use this to test out our app a little bit, although I guess we'll have to deploy it because I'm not going to be able to put localhost in there, right? It's going to just like, I wonder what it's going to do. Preview. No, it's like, yeah, nothing. Okay. Yeah, anyway, so we can still add the things and push it and deploy it and try it out though. So let's do that. So I'm actually going to look at my blog post as an example. My blog post template. So let's do that. GitHub. blog. Source. That would be pages, posts, ID. Also, you know, like this, all this source code for my blog is actually in a private repo. It's not necessarily because it's super private, but my posts are actually in there too, as well as my draft posts. So that's why this code is technically in a private repo, but I don't mind sharing. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. Okay, so this is kind of what I did for my blog posts. Let's copy that over here and just take a look. It would be something we would put in the layout. One of the things about Pug, I mean, I think you can just paste HTML in there. It's just probably should fix it to be more puggish. So let's do that. So meta property OG title content something title, and then type. So if we actually look here, the type is probably should be website, because it's not really an article. There's like a bunch of different types you can have. It's not really an article. It's not like video. It's not really any kind of like multimedia. It's just a website. And so because it's not an article, we don't need these article ones at all. And we don't really need these tag ones at all. The URL, you know, obviously we could include. But do we need to include that? Let's try not including that. The image, you know, it's nice to have an image. Maybe I will just put in the standard placeholder screenshot here. And so this image, I believe this has to be an absolute URL to something in the same domain. So it would be like a link to screenshot dark or screenshot light. Probably screenshot light. And to get that, it would be something. I'm trying to think like, do I know the base URL of the app anywhere? Is that something that we've needed to configure yet? Probably not, right? Like there's this current path thing, which is fine. I could also put in like base URL is request dot host Let's just start with new. Well, yeah, whatever. Let's just start with this. I'm not sure exactly what the rec.host is going to even include. So I kind of want to see that. So this OG image is going to be base URL plus slash screenshot light.png. And this would be in parentheses right? What is it complaining about here? Oh, it's not, I'm not using the pug syntax. Okay, so it would be more like meta property OG image content is this. Yeah, and get rid of this. And then this would be like OG type website and get rid of this. And let's just comment these other ones out for a moment and see what we've got. So if I look at the headers here, the image is, okay, so it's just that. It's not really, I mean, you could do like request dot port. Is that a thing? Host. I mean, there's host name. I would have thought the host would have had the port and the host name would not. But maybe I got that backwards. No, they're just both localhost. I guess that kind of makes sense. Host. I mean, it's localhost 3000. I wish I could get that. I don't know. Well, so a lot of the times, one of the ways that people do this is you actually have the base URL configured. And maybe I'll just do it that way for now. It's not the best, but you know, this would be like, probably make a new like set config type of thing here. So let's do that. Let's say new file. I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but it's the way we're going to do it for now. And then here, export const base URL equals set.luketurner.org. And this could be like process.end.base URL. Or localhost 3000. And then that actual other base URL we can set in our fly.toml here. So here we would have like a env base URL equals that. Okay, guess we can get rid of the last slash. And like that, fine. And then this base URL would be like new URL. I guess it would just be base URL, right? And then what are you complaining about here? Okay, just had to take its time to think about it. So now we have the base URL, and in the layout here, we can just do, like we could do this plus thing, or we could do like a new URL. But if we do that, we'd have to pass in URL into the pug template. So I'm actually going to do a screenshot or like get absolute URL. Screenshot light.png. Okay, and then this get absolute URL function we'll need to implement. So that's going to be passed in here instead of base URL, because we don't need that anymore. And this function, I'll just put this under config here. Get absolute URL equals, let's do export function. I like exporting function a little bit better. Path string, and we will const URL equals new URL from path base URL like that. Return URL.toString. Okay, so with that, we should be able to import this and look at the thing, see what it's done. Okay, so now we actually have our, I guess it shouldn't be HTTPS though. That should just be like that. Okay, so we've got our localhost 3000 slash screenshot light.png. Just to confirm, if I put that here, that is a thing. Okay, cool. Okay. Now let's do the description. So, we'll just like do this description and maybe I'll actually copy something from the index page here. And put that over here. Okay, get rid of the description. Site name. I guess we have that one too. Site name, and that would just be set. Simple exercise tracker. Let's do it like that. Sure. Locale. I mean, don't know how much that matters. And then obviously reading time is not relevant. Okay. Now we have a bunch of meta. Things. A little bit odd, but that's okay. And like the title, like here, the title is this. Normally somebody's not going to be able to share, like if you share a link to a logged in page, if Slack or whatever goes to query for that, they're going to get redirected back to the homepage, and that's the meta they're going to get. So they're not going to be able to see the title of the meta for this like logged in page. What they'd be able to see is this one, which the title is just set, apparently. Or this one, title is manual intro. So, things like that. Okay. So I think that's fine. Let's add these. So base URL business. That isn't a thing anymore. And this. So we would call this like add unfurl metadata. Sure. And the fly.tama one, I guess we want that as well. Okay, cool. Commit. So let's actually push this. And normally once I push it, that's kind of the end of the session for the day. But today we'll actually wait for that push to finish, which will just take a few minutes in GitHub Actions. And then we can check out whether that unfurling stuff is actually working as expected or not. In the meantime, let's actually just check it off here. Bit. Okay. We're making progress down the list here. I'm kind of expecting this to be maybe even just like 2 or 3 more streams on this particular app. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be more. Maybe it'll be less. I don't know. But at the moment, that's kind of what it's feeling like. If I did 2 or 3 more streams, get it into a decent place, I actually have some other app ideas that I'm excited to start working on that I don't want to have to wait too long on. So that's also part of why I'm planning on finishing this up. Like I want to get on to some new things I think would be kind of exciting, a little interesting, hopefully. Probably not as common as an exercise tracking app in terms of like what people are implementing. So maybe a bit more novelty there. I've also been thinking a lot about AI stuff because it's just such a big deal these days. Let's take a look at our build here. And like on my personal project that I've been working on outside of this stream as well, I've been kind of experimenting with trying to get some AI stuff going on. And it seems there's kind of an interesting situation now where it's like, previously we had these, and obviously they still exist, but we had these like autocomplete style coding AI assistants, Copilot, sort of the first one. And then, there's like this sort of chat style interface where it's like you and the computer sort of work together to figure out what needs to be fixed or whatever. And then now there's this like agentic interface where it's like the computer, the AI model can actually answer its own questions by running commands, doing operations, and there's a whole new level of power that it has. But there's also a whole new level of kind of like distance that the developer has. Like if you want to take full advantage of those like agentic AIs, it's almost like you need to kick it off with like full permissions to be like, yeah, you can run, browse the internet. Yeah, you can like run CLI tools on my computer. Like, yeah, you can read any file, like do whatever you want and just do it for a while. And then you come back to it. At least that's what I've been reading lately. People saying it's like they'll kick off their AI agent with a task and then like come back to it later, which is an interesting flow. And personally, I don't feel comfortable actually running a LLM on my personal computer, which I use for a lot of things, with full, permissions and like no approval needed, especially if I'm not even watching it at all. So I've been exploring or thinking about using code spaces actually as a way of like having a sandbox for the AI to explore in and to run commands and stuff when it's working on my app without actually having access to my actual computer itself. Anyway, yeah, we'll see how that goes though. But ultimately, I am looking for ways to add AI to my flow, to my development process. But I'm still kind of feeling like I haven't found the trick to make it like actually feel any faster than writing the code myself. So that's why I'm interested in these agentic things. But I'm not actually going to be doing that on stream. At least that's not the plan at the moment because I don't think it's the most interesting to watch. But I might talk about my process a little bit if I get something ironed out. Okay, anyway, we've got our deploy done, I think. Got the check mark. So let's go ahead and try it. So if I do set.luketurner.org, it's going to take it a minute because it's got to scale up the stuff. And it did the thing. So it's definitely working. We've got our screenshot. We've got our text. And maybe you could argue that it should look different, but whatever. It's good enough. Good enough for me. After unfurling, hello. Were you attracted to my stream by the fact that I'm talking about unfurling? First time chatter. Don't tell me you made the account just for that. Surely not, right? I wonder what this raw tags checkmark does. Okay, shows me what it sees. Yeah, sweet. Okay, well, I mean that's pretty dang good. You didn't know about that. You were just looking for software dev streams. Well, after unfurling, you joined at exactly the right time because it was right after I finished implementing unfurling for my app. So, yes, in a way, it's the perfect time. In a way, it's not the perfect time though because the stream is about to wrap up. So, unfortunately, you got here right at the tail end. But yeah, we just added these meta properties to our app here so that when people open it in or paste a link in Slack or LinkedIn or whatever, it's actually going to include some of these nice little, where was that? Here. Includes some of this text in here as well. But yeah, but I do have to hop off at this point. So I think that's pretty much it for today. We already pushed our commits in order to test them in that cloud app thing. So I think that's about it. Thanks, y'all, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.